Welcome back to another deck profile. I'm hopefully going to be able to record all of this in one go. And hopefully it won't be jumpy, because this time I'm not using YouTube to record. So today I've got Metaphys, but this is my test build. I have no extra deck, even though you could throw in some synchros because we have a tuner right here. And you can definitely throw in some links. But this is my test build right now, so I'm definitely going to be updating this over time. Anyways, let's get right into it. Also, my last deck profile, almost 200 views. What the fuck? That was ridiculous. So anyways, I'm going to start us off here with 3 copies of Metaphys Ragnarok. His effect is, whenever he's normal or special summoned, you can banish the top 3, or you can banish the top 3 cards of your deck, and he gains 300 attack for each Metaphys card banished this way. He also has an effect that whenever he deals damage to your opponent, you get to special summon a level 5 or higher Metaphys monster from your deck. Hard ones per turn. Oh, and the Metaphys monster you special summon is banished during the next end phase. So basically, he's banished during your opponent's end phase. Next up, we have 3 copies of Metaphys Nephthys. Metaphys Nephthys. Can say that all I want, and it sounds really good coming off the tongue. So, all of the high-level Metaphys monsters have the same line of text that if it's special summoned by the effect of a Metaphys monster, or by the effect of a Metaphys card, they all have that line of text, but they all have a different effect. This one, whenever it's summoned, you can banish all set spell and traps on the field, which is ridiculous. It basically is a Harpy's Feather Duster that banishes. And it only works on set cards, so it's not really a Harpy's Feather Duster. It's just, hey, let me get rid of all face down spells and traps. Let me actually rearrange this so both my first editions are on top. Next up, we have 3 copies of Metaphys Tyrant Dragon. He has the Metaphys Clause, where if he's summoned by a Metaphys card, he gets an effect, and his effect is, actually, what is his effect? It's unaffected by trap effects, and if it attacks a monster, you can make a second attack in a row, which is really good. Oh wait, one other thing I forgot to mention about Nephthys is, during the next standby phase after it's banished, you can shuffle it back and search for a Metaphys card. They all also have a standby phase effect to shuffle themselves back to do something. His standby phase effect is to shuffle himself back and special summon a Metaphys from your hand, which is amazing, because it actually triggers all of your Metaphys effects. Next up, we have 3 copies of Metaphys Daedalus. The one card I mainly wanted to make this deck for was this card, simply because whenever it's summoned by the effect of a Metaphys monster, you can banish all other face-up special summon monsters on the board. Yes, banish them. You don't destroy them. You just straight banish them, which is amazing. Then he has an effect that during the standby phase, or during the next standby phase after he was banished, you can shuffle him back and banish another Metaphys card from your deck. Even some of the spells and traps gain effects whenever they're banished, ladies and gents. For the last Metaphys monster in the deck, we have 3 copies of Metaphys Decoy Dragon. Metaphys Decoy Dragon has the longest effect out of all of the Metaphys monsters, because he has 2 effects, because he has a scale effect and a monster effect, and I need to read his scale effect in order to, tell you which is which. Scale effect says when your monster is targeted for an attack, target one of your Metaphys monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. Banish this card, and if you do, special summon that monster in attack position, and you can only use that effect even once per turn. And his monster effect is basically the same, except on standby phase in the next turn after he was banished, you can special summon him to your side of the field. Really good. He actually, just does a lot of really cool things for the deck. But, like, special summoning on an attack of one of your monsters. And it's just great. Now we're getting into the non-Metaphys stuff. And for the first tech card, I'm running 3 copies of Aloof Lupine. Whenever he's normal summoned, you can banish a monster from your hand, and then you have to banish a monster with the same type and attribute from your deck. So basically, you normal summon him and you banish a light worm monster. The entire Metaphys archetype is light worm monsters. So he basically is like, hey, he's your only normal summon in hand. Well, looks like you get to banish 2 cards. And then on your opponent's standby phase, you get both of their shuffle back effects. He's just really good. Next up, this one's a bit of a weird one. But it's just for those niche situations where your cards end up in your spell and traps end up in your graveyard. I'm running 2 copies of the new hand trap. What's her name? Red Blossoms from Underroot. It's hard to read her name through my camera, which means I know it's gonna be, which I know means it's gonna be hard for you guys to read her name through the on the video. But anyways, she has an effect that when she's in your hand, you can banish a spell and trap from both players' graveyards to special summon her. And then her other effect works on extra deck stuff, which I don't run extra deck right now. There's definitely, like, room for improvement, and you can definitely run extra deck in this deck. But that's up for you guys to run, and comment below on what you run in your extra deck. Next up, 2 Necrophase, simply because, Necrophase is amazing in a deck that's all about banishing. Whenever it's normal summon, normal or special, is it? Yeah, it's just whenever it's normal summon. Shuffle all banished cards back into the deck, and then whenever it's banished, both players banish the top 5 cards of their deck, which is really nice. So that's it for the monsters. Yep. Quite a decent chunk of monster cards in the deck. I mean, yeah. About half the deck. I think a little more than half the deck. Moving into the trap cards, we have 3 copies. I almost grabbed an extra card. 3 copies of Waterfall of Dragon Souls. Now, this card has 2 different effects. You can add a worm monster from your deck to your hand, or you can discard worm monsters and then draw the same number of cards plus 1. So basically, it replaces itself on the draw effect, and it also replaces itself with a search effect. I just have to wait a turn in order to use it, which, I mean, I honestly think that's pretty balanced, and I honestly prefer it. Next up, we have 3 copies of Metaphys Dimension. Yep, I keep getting all this stuff off camera. I am, like, so sorry if I'm very unprofessional, but, 56 subs, not really growing any. What do you expect? Anyways, Metaphys Dimension has a really long effect as well. Basically, it says if your opponent special summons a monster, special summon a banished Metaphys monster. You get your effect because it's a Metaphys card. And then it says whenever another Metaphys monster is Metaphys card is banished while this card is already face up in your spell and trap zone, target 1 card your opponent controls and banish it. Both effects are hard ones per turn, and it banishes the monster it summons on the next standby phase, which actually isn't bad. I like that card a lot. Next up, this one is one that I don't see a lot of people run at 3, let alone at all. That's 3 copies of Metaphys Ascension. I'm running it at 3 because it's a Rhoda. When it's banished, you can add a Metaphys card from your deck to your hand, and it's a card. So you can basically add any of your monsters. You can add a trap that has Metaphys, or you can add the spells that have Metaphys to your hand. But that's its effect whenever it gets banished. It has another effect that you can discard a card to draw a card and then banish a Metaphys monster from your deck, which is actually really nice. Now we're moving into the tech traps. We have 2 copies of Solemn Strike, just for negation, on those like slow hands and to help draw out the game, because this deck is a bit slow. It's supposed to run a bit slow. So yeah, it's 2 strike. And last trap card in the deck, Macrocosmos. When I ordered this, it said it was a common, but it turned out to be a Shatterfoil rare, and I am very happy with this. But everybody knows what Macrocosmos does. Oh, it's because it's dual terminal. Oh. Anyways, everybody knows what Macrocosmos does, but if you don't, I'll explain. Basically, while this card is face up on the field, anything that would go to the graveyard is banished. So, you know, it kills certain decks. Looking at you, Blue Eyes. Okay, moving on into the spells, which there are only 6 of. 3 copies of Ace and Metaphys. Soft once per turn. Banish a Metaphys card, draw a card. Really good. And then it has an effect that, depending on whoever's turn it is, that for banishing a Metaphys monster. So on your, basically, whenever any of your Metaphys cards are banished, this thing gains an effect depending on the player turn. If it's your turn, monster your opponent currently controls lose 500 attack and defense permanently. If it's your opponent's turn, you change the battle position of all their monsters. Really good card. I honestly really like it. It's also a continuous draw spell, which is amazing. And last, but certainly not least, 3 Metaphys Factor. Now, I always see people either run this at 2 or none, but I honestly really like it. It has an effect to let you normal summon a level 5 or higher Metaphys monster for free, but banish it during the next end phase. So you banish it on your opponent's end phase, which means on your standby phase, you get its effect, which is really good. Then it also has a little extra line of text that says your opponent cannot activate anything in response to your Metaphys cards, or to your Metaphys monster effect, or Metaphys effects, which is 1, really useful, 2, dodges Super Poly in chain response, and 3, prevents Ash Blossom to a lot of things in this deck. It also stops Called by the Grave. But you know, that's my deck, or that's my beta Metaphys deck profile. If you guys did enjoy, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you do, it really encourages me to keep this going. Please do share these videos around, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'm definitely going to be trying to do this form of recording more often, because it's not as cut. It doesn't jump like it does whenever I record through the YouTube app. And I mean, I prefer this way. I prefer using my phone's like actual camera to record, because it doesn't push my storage, which is the main reason why it jump cuts so much whenever I record through the YouTube app. But my phone does stop the recording on its own every now and again, which is why I got so frustrated doing that Blue Eyes deck profile. But anyways, guys, I'm going to stop rambling on. If you guys did enjoy this, again, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Really keeps me wanting to go. And I'll definitely keep bringing some deck profiles. There's a deck I'm currently working on that's going to cost me a lot of money, but I'll definitely do a deck profile over it whenever I get it done. I also have a couple of other filler decks to do, and I'm going to try and do these once a week. But whenever I run out of decks to do deck profiles on, I'll try and find something to fill in the void for videos. Because I know people are going to sit here and watch a 15 to 20 minute video rather than watch a 2-hour stream. So anyways, guys, like I said, thumbs up button, share this video around with your friends, and be sure to subscribe if you're new. This has been Ghost with another deck profile, and I will definitely update this deck. So, there you guys have it. A peace.